Alright, show jugglers. Welcome to the Week 4 recap of the Newark Cows Fantasy League. And after looking at this past week, I feel like this league can only be divided into 3 groups. The first group, people that are still allowed to have pride and hold their head high. The second group, people named Kirch. And the third and final group is people that are on suicide watch, effective immediately. Let's break down who's in these groups. First off, people that still have pride and are allowed to hang their head high. Me, I'm the sole person on this list. Second group, people named Kirch, is anyone whose name is Kirch and is in our league. Sorry, Sandy, sit this one out. And the third group, people that are on suicide watch, are all the rest of you fucking losers. You all scored less points than Jonathan Kirch this week in fantasy football. I really hope that takes a moment to sit in. Ugh. Do we need to set like a phone tree where people check in by the hour so we need to know if we need to send an ambulance to your houses or what? Absolutely pathetic. Kirch, I mean, good for you. You got a win finally, and you got official rights to talk shit against everyone that isn't me for at least another few days. See what happens when you get Funches out of your lineup? I'm proud of you, buddy. I'm sure you'll figure out a way to blow it this week. You managed to beat Smith by the second smallest of margins, 0.7 points. Smith, huge performance on your bench from Duke Johnson Jr., who apparently is not a New Orleans saxophone player. You're going to need him this week playing against Becker, who's starting to get some production out of his running backs. Jamal Charles and Jeremy Hill finally starting to look good. Although that still wasn't enough, you lost to Mikey T, who had the opposite performance out of his running backs. DeMarco Murray and Derek Fadden, man, they almost broke double digits combined. You got to stick away from those homer picks. Mikey T is playing against Mark, who Mark was bitching on the boards about all of his players being out on bye weeks, so he did what anyone would do in that position, went to the waiver wire and grabbed himself Ted Ginger, who is also on bye this week, so strong maneuvering there, buddy. And I saw that was nice of you to take your defense special team out of your lineup in solidarity to Mike, who had his DST out on bye week, but newsflash, Mikey T smartly got a new defense. You might want to put yours back in. Mark, you did just come off a win against Eric Lucas. Eric falling to 3-1. I think you know where I'm going with this. I'm going to, if I were plotting the performance of your team on a graph, it would look really good week 1. 152 points out of your starting lineup, 98 points off of your bench. Still the most bench points from any team this season, so that's good for first place in that prop bet, by the way, for the time being. Fucking strong, looking good. If you remember on the video, I said that, you know, a lot of big things coming from you. Week 2, turning point. Your first team, your starters still did pretty well, 134 points, but your bench players dropped down to about 80 or so. Big change that week. You put Percy Harvin on your bench. You couldn't resist. Week 3, starters still did well. Percy Harvin started putting some taint on your bench. Bench point scoring dropped down to 60. Not looking good. And then sure enough, week 4, you couldn't resist. You put that stinky Percy into your lineup. And a pathetic performance, 94.5 points. He was so bad, the taint of Percy was so strong, he even caused Julio Jones to fucking suck. Julio Jones is like, should be money every week. And so what do? You drop Eric Decker, who had a strong week 1 and 2, and you get Doug fucking Martin. What are you, just trying to collect people that bring ill will into fantasy teams? Good God, man! I have to predict at this point that you're gonna go 3-10. That's all I know. So that sucks. It looks like you're playing Miko this week, who finally decided that the broth was spoiled and took Brandon Cooks out of his lineup. I guess. Even though Drew Brees is back, he's spreading around too much. So we'll see how that lineup goes. I mean, Micah, you should have a win here because you don't have Percy Harvin. It's easy math. Looking at Hoopy's lineup last week, I talked about it on the video last week. I knew he couldn't resist putting Ruben Randall in. So, of course, he took out Chris Ivory, who had a pretty strong game. So that's 10 points that you give up with that switch. And, of course, Brian, you can never pick your fucking tight ends right. You know, if you'd have put Fleener back in, you would have had another 13 points. And with those points combined, you would have still lost. So I guess you can feel good about that. And then you picked up Zach Zenner, who sounds like a bootleg superhero. 2.3 points only. But hey, at least that was 2.3 points more than Pat had in his lineup slot there with Andre Ellington. But Pat, feel good. At least you got Tom Brady back, so that's good for something. Anyway, we'll take a look and kind of let you guys know what's going on the prop bets for those of you that are involved. I mentioned earlier that Eric has the most bench points with 98.1 so far from his Week 1 performance. I'm not going to go over everything, some of the season-long ones I'm not going to touch, but the individual ones. Interestingly enough, with my win over Maiko this week, I took the largest margin of victory with 58 points. And you would think that the person I beat would have the largest margin of defeat, but Maiko's not doing that prop bet. So I also have the largest margin of defeat with 55.5, which I believe I lost. Yeah, when I lost to Mark. So I have both the largest margin of victory and the largest margin of defeat. So that's not what would be expected, I suppose. From a player standpoint, Mark right now has the highest quarterback performance with Aaron Rodgers, 45.9. He also has the highest wide receiver performance with A.J. Green last week, 46.7. I've got the lead on running backs, 42.3 out of Devontae Freeman. Eric has the highest tight end performance, Gronk 32.4. Let's see, Mikey T is going strong with the highest kicker performance with Gostkowski 19. And Mikey T also has best defensive special teams performance so far with the Panthers 21. As far as the weekly prop bets go, Mikey T had the highest score in Week 1, Hoofy had 2, Eric 3, and I just took Week 4. So that's kind of where we stand on that. I'll try to keep you guys updated on any changes week to week. And now you guys kind of know what to look for and root for as your players perform terribly as compared to mine. But anyway, that's what I got. Take it easy, Butley.